Afterwards, Nie Huaisang wore a bitter expression and complained, "Brother Wei, Lan Wangji keeps staring at you, and we end up getting caught in the crossfire. It's not that we don't want to hang out with you, it's just that we can't afford to." Being kicked out of the erotic illustrations game made Wei Wuxian very frustrated. One day, as he was about to go down the mountain with Zhang Cheng and Nie Huaisang to taste dishes of a newly opened Hunan restaurant, he suddenly felt a burning sensation on his back, followed by a chilly one. Turning his head, he saw Lan Wangji's gaze fixed on him from afar. Nie Huaisang looked at Wei Wuxian with an expression that said, "See? I told you so." Just as Wei Wuxian had no idea, he had a sudden idea and waved his hand, saying, "Lanzhan, come down the mountain with us. I'll treat you to some delicious food." Lan Wangji shook his head, looking somewhat dejected. Zhang Cheng, slightly displeased, said, "This Lan Wangji, why doesn't he interact with people at all?" Wei Wuxian, feeling helpless, replied, "I don't know either. I thought that recently he might be unhappy because he's been left alone and feeling lonely. But every time I invite him to join us, he ignores me." Nie Huaisang scratched his nose and said, "I think Lan Wangji doesn't want to hang out with us too." As he said this, he pointed to himself and Jiang Cheng. "Lan Wangji only wants to be with you, Brother Wei." Jiang Cheng and Wei Wuxian looked at him simultaneously. After a moment, Jiang Cheng rolled his eyes. Then, Wei Wuxian quickly ran over to Lan Wangji and whispered a few words in his ear. Shortly after, the two of them walked away together. Nie Huaisang shook his head and sighed. Jiang Cheng glanced at him. The two bachelors, with arms around each other's shoulders, went down the mountain. Wei Wuxian had a bad habit of sometimes being completely unaware of his actions. When his bad habits flared up, others would worry for him while he remained smug and oblivious to the approaching dangers. However, this matter couldn't entirely be blamed on him. Tracing back to the source, the cause of the situation was actually Wei Wuxian found himself becoming addicted to kissing Lan Wangji. Not only did he launch surprise attacks during the day, but it also became a fixed routine at night, as if he couldn't fall asleep without doing it. However, what troubled Wei Wuxian was that every time he kissed Lan Wangji, the latter would become as stiff as the stone. He remained completely motionless, not even blinking. At times, Wei Wuxian felt like he was kissing a cold, statue-like jade figure. As beautiful as it was, its beauty made his heart spasm and caused him to lose control. No matter the occasion or place, without distinguishing right from wrong, his heart pounded. He went to die and came back to life, and he wanted to push him to the ground and kiss him wildly. Unfortunately, Lan Wangji showed no reaction. On one occasion, Wei Wuxian felt that Lan Wangji became so stiff that he seemed to stop breathing, so he purposely paused to press his chest to listen to his heartbeat and even checked his pulse. Lan Wangji is really little old-fashioned, Wei Wuxian thought angrily, even less responsive than a mule. At least the mule felt embarrassed and annoyed, to the point of lifting a hoof and kicking him. But Lan Wangji, with no reaction at all, simply pretended to be dead. He even wondered, does Lan Wangji not like him? The feelings he had for Lan Wangji, that heart-throbbing, uncontrollable feeling, that urgent desire to be close to him, to possess him. Did Lan Wangji feel the same way about him? Or was it that all these kisses, all these reactions, or rather the lack of any reaction at all, clearly indicated that Lan Wangji had no feelings for him whatsoever? Regarding Wei Wuxian's kisses and his impulsive actions, Lan Wangji's reaction was one of speechlessness, an unwillingness to resist, helplessness, and tacit indulgence. After all, since marrying into the Lan family, Wei Wuxian's disregard for family rules and his reckless behavior were only met with verbal reprimands from Lan Wangji, who never strictly enforced the rules. Although Lan Wangji often sternly required Wei Wuxian to copy and recite passages from the Collection of Elegance, each time Wei Wuxian would copy a few lines, throw away the pen, and roll around as if he had suffered a great injustice and lost the will to live. In response, Lan Wangji would only sigh silently and let him take his time. As the person who was charge of punishment, Lan Wangji had never once punished Wei Wuxian. Instead, he was even willing to share the punishments with him, often accompanying him to kneel in the ancestral hall until late at night. Throughout all of this, he never uttered a word of complaint. So, was Lan Wangji also adopting a silent and tolerant approach towards his kisses and his flirtatious behavior? Just as Wei Wuxian was lost in his wild thoughts, unable to make sense of anything, a third party appeared. To be precise, a third rabbit appeared. Wei Wuxian could never have imagined that his own words would come true. That playful rabbit somehow managed to be excessively naughty and ended up breaking its leg while playing around. Lan Wangji applied medicine to its leg and bandaged it. The little rabbit couldn't move and required care and attention for eating and sleeping, like a pampered young master. Lan Wangji had no choice but to take care of it day and night, attending to its every need with great detail and care. Whether it was during the day or night, mealtime, bedtime, doing schoolwork, or accompanying Wei Wuxian in copying family rules, the little rabbit clung to Lan Wangji's leg as if glued to it, following him around all day long. In the daytime, in front of everyone, the rabbit would latch onto Lan Wangji with one paw, nuzzling its fluffy head against his stomach. As a result, Lan Wangji would often pick it up in his arms, his long, fair fingers scratching behind its ears. Each time, the rabbit would close its eyes in contentment, sometimes even flipping onto its back to reveal its furry belly, inviting Lan Wangji to pet it. This little troublemaker, always throwing itself into his arms, shamelessly. Every time Wei Wuxian witnessed this scene, he would become exasperated, unable to believe that he had personally assisted this little thing in seducing his husband. In the past, the attention Lan Wangji gave to Wei Wuxian had now been redirected, with half of it being taken away by the little troublemaker. Even more outrageous was that this little rascal had taken over their bed, sleeping right next to Lan Wangji's pillow every night. Wei Wuxian had formally protested about this arrangement, but Lan Wangji had explained that since the rabbit was injured, if it slept in its little nest, it might get accidentally stepped on by another rabbit, which would worsen its injury. Everything was approaching a dangerous breaking point. One night, the two of them lay in bed as usual. Wei Wuxian, feeling restless, pressed half of his body against Lan Wangji and leaned in to kiss him. However, a white fluffy thing suddenly appeared in his view. The little rabbit was snuggled against Lan Wangji's ear, its soft, three-lobed mouth very close. Taking advantage of the moment, it managed to kiss Lan Wangji's cheek before Wei Wuxian could act. Lan Wangji seemed taken aback as well. He turned his head to look, and the tension in his body, from being pressed by Wei Wuxian, suddenly softened. His expression relaxed as he reached out his right hand to the side of his head and gently rubbed the little rabbit. Wei Wuxian was stunned. So, in Lan Wangji's heart, he couldn't even compare to a rabbit? Needless to say, that kiss ended right there. And for all the nights that followed, there were no more kisses or intimate moments. Seeing that he was seemingly dispensable in Lan Wangji's eyes, Wei Wuxian chose not to care about Lan Wangji's feelings anymore. From then on, he would simply roll into bed and cover his head to sleep. This matter shook him so deeply that he began to question his own feelings for Lan Wangji. After all, he had never been attracted to anyone in his entire life, let alone to a man, something he had never even considered. Could all of this just be an illusion? The intimate days and nights spent with Lan Wangji, the gaze of the people around them who accepted them as a loving couple. All these expectations from others, and the subtle hints from within his own heart, all of these gathered in his mind, creating a hazy, dreamlike feeling, like looking at flowers in the mist. This feeling told him that Lan Wangji was his husband, and that he should have feelings for him. But Wei Wuxian, he was clearly someone who liked girls. The summer cicadas were buzzing noisily, making people drowsy. Inside the study room, Wuxian was leaning on the desk, listlessly doodling. Wangji was sitting upright and quiet, silently observing. There were no small paper balls being thrown at him. His posture seemed a bit less upright, and his eyes glanced over Wuxian briefly. Wuxian leaned in the other direction, pretending not to see Wangji. After the morning class ended, Wuxian left alone, waving dismissively as he passed by Jiang Cheng and Ni Huaisang. Ni Huaisang asked, "What's wrong with Brother Wei?" Jiang Cheng shrugged. "He has those days every month."